Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 7, Crossed. And this episode was amazing. This episode really... There was a lot of things I really loved about. First of all, this was the first episode of the season to not, the first episode since episode 3 to not be a single character-focused episode. The past 3 episodes have been very character-focused, have focused on only one group, while this episode did something I loved, combined all of those elements together, and I really loved that. And in the long run, I think that was a very good idea. They showed them all individually, because we wouldn't have had enough time in 8 episodes, and I understand why they did it this way, because it paid off so well in this episode, and I thought this episode was so well done, and I cannot wait for the mid-season finale. It is going to be amazing. But let's get to this episode. So, we start off where we see Sasha. She's chopping up a church pew with an axe, and obviously she's very upset because Bob just died, and a lot of this episode she's dealing with that grief, and I really like seeing that with her character, definitely. And Tyrese and Daryl are pulling the pipes from a church organ, and what I like about this episode is we are officially catched up, because we catched up from right where Daryl came back to the church, and now we're catched up. We know what's going on. So Daryl glances over at Sasha, taking her anger out on the church pew, and Tyrese tells Daryl that it's good that he wasn't here for it. And, basically he's telling him that it's good that he wasn't here to see Bob die. And he takes the organ pipes outside and used it to build a barricade. And Father Gabriel asks if they're going to take the cross to, and Daryl says if they need to. And on the side of the church, Rick, Michonne, Carl, and Noah are boarding up the windows. And I thought this was awesome. Right away you can see that these people, that they're going to go, track down Beth and get Carol, and it's already awesome. Because basically, Rick is talking to Michonne about how Daryl wants him to go to Atlanta to rescue Beth and Carol, and Michonne says that Rick doesn't have to go, that she'll go instead, but Rick says he owes it to Carol to go, and I agree with what Rick is saying. He kicked Carol out of the group, and seeing what happened in last week's episode, we really saw how sorry Carol is for all the things she has done, and everything, and how everything has impacted her, and things like that, and how much she regrets it. And the way they showed that, in last week's episode, really shows that Rick should definitely forgive her. And I'm glad that he pretty much is at the point where he's ready to forgive her. So I'm very happy about that. So Rick, Daryl, Noah, Tyrese, and Sasha, they take off for Atlanta, and Michonne, Carl, and Father Gabriel stay behind to watch baby Judith. And Father Gabriel sees blood on the church floor and starts frantically trying to scrub it off. So I was just like, okay, why is he scrubbing it off? What happened here? Because Father Gabriel, this kind of makes me sort of think something interesting about Father Gabriel. I'm like, okay, what are we trying to show here? Because, he's literally just trying to scratch it off with his nails. So I really don't know what that's trying to show. I think it was trying to show sort of like how he doesn't want to, like, kill people, and he's obsessed with that. And, he is so, like, holy to God and things and everything. I don't know what that was exactly trying to show, but that was a very well-done scene, and I thought that was a great way to start the episode. So, Tyrese and Sasha are alone in the back of the truck, and Tyrese tells Sasha that she knows he's been there, and he starts to say Bob would have wanted her to, but Sasha interrupts and says, please don't, and I really like I really like that he said that she knows he's been there, because he has been. He still, I think, is getting over the death of Karen. Not only the death of Karen, but also Lizzie and Mika, because he was like a second father to them. So, them as well, I think he is getting over. Even though they didn't mean as much to him as Karen, they did mean something to him. And then the episode did something that I really liked, was when we saw Beth, because I thought this episode was just going to show these two groups, and I'm glad it didn't, because we see Beth is working in the hospital, and she wheels her mop bucket around to look on Carol. Now, we can see that Carol is in very bad condition, and Dr. Edwards comes in, who I didn't think we were going to see again. We all thought we were going to see these characters for only one episode. But nope, I knew it. We were going to see him again, because they heavily focused on them in episode 4, and we saw him again. I was actually very happy they did that, because they are very important characters, and they're essential to the story now. So he asks Beth to excuse him that he's just checking on her. And then we go back to Glenn, Eugene, and Abraham and their group. And Glenn is tending to Eugene. And, Eugene, if you remember, Abraham knocked him out and everything. And Abraham is still on his knees. He's obviously very upset at what he did. And Glenn goes over to talk to Tara. And Tara reveals that they're running out of water. And that she's named the group Great. So I thought that was an interesting name, interesting name for the group. So Glenn asks Maggie if they should take Eugene back to the church, but Maggie says that moving him could make him worse. And Rosita's trying to get Abraham to drink some water, but Abraham slaps it away. And Abraham stands up to Rosita in a threatening way, but Maggie pulls a gun on Abraham and warns him to sit down or she will put him down. Obviously, they're very upset at him for what he just did because he killed Eugene when, he knocked out Eugene and could have possibly killed him. They don't know if he's dead or not. So Abraham glares at Maggie, but he eventually sits down. And he didn't know what she was going to do. There was actually a point where I wasn't sure what Maggie was going to do. I really wasn't sure there. But, and that's not the scene, but there is a scene later that I'll definitely talk about. So, Rick is mapping out a strategy to attack the hospital to rescue Beth and Carol. And Tyrese suggests that instead they capture some of the cops outside the hospital and then do an even trade. And Rick says that this might work, but his plan will work. And Daryl says Tyrese's plan will work as well, and Daryl says that with Tyrese's plan, everybody goes home. So, basically, they each have their own different plans, and I like their sort of like, conflict here is that they all have different ideas. It really shows that Rick, Daryl, and Tyrese are really the essential leaders of this group. They're all trying to be the leaders, but I like that they're all working together. This is not an argument or anything. They're all sort of working together and trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out the best way to work this out, so, they don't die or anything. So, Father Gabriel's still trying to scrub the blood off the church floor, and Carl offers to teach him how to protect himself, because if you remember, Father Gabriel, the one thing that he doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to kill someone. We know that. And he said, I don't want to kill someone. So, Carl wants to teach him how to, though, but he says that they said they would go, but Carl says that they were murderous and liars, and he picks up a machete, and, I agree with Carl. Just because the hunters are gone doesn't mean that they are safe. There are other people that could come after them. There are still crazy people out there. And Carl says he isn't holding it right, and Father Gabriel says that he has to lie down. So Dawn is then talking to another woman about finding Noah, and the other officer says that they are wasting resources on the woman that they just brought in, and I thought that was amazing. And, we can already see that I was like, okay, Carol's definitely not going to make it here. Because Beth objects, saying that the officer charges his DVD every day, even though they have limited resources. And Dawn tells the other officer that he's right to turn off the machines, and that the woman will have to survive on her own to make it. So, we don't know at this point if Carol's going to make it or not, which I was very concerned about, definitely. So after the other officer leaves, Dawn tells Beth that she just killed that woman, and I agree with what Beth is saying, that Dawn does not know what she wants to do, because she says that Dawn could tell him that she changed her mind, but Dawn says things are too fragile, and she gives Beth a key to the drug locker so that Beth can try to save the woman, and she says she doesn't even trust Dr. Edwards with the key. So I'm wondering, okay, so this doesn't make any sense. First of all, you hit Beth, you've established that you don't trust her. Plus, Beth kind of, criticized you before, so I don't really know why she'd give her the key and not Dr. Edwards. I thought that was definitely very interesting. And also, Dawn, didn't you want to save people? I agree with Beth is saying. Dawn does not know what she wants, because she claims that she wants to save people, but she killed that woman. So, clearly she does not want to save people, and there's clearly something else that she's hiding. So, back at the fire truck, Glenn, Tara, and Rosita take a bucket and head out into the woods to gather water. And I thought this was a very good scene, in my opinion. They pass by a couple of walkers, pinned under a down telephone pole. Tara's talking about how they shouldn't be mad at Eugene for using the one skill that kept him living, because, he had nothing, really. And the only skill he had was lying. And, sort of pretending that he was something he's not, but he was smart, as we know. He was very smart, and I agree with Tara saying, why should they be mad at him for that? All he was trying to do was survive like each and every one of them are, and at the end of the day, that's what each and every one of them are trying to do. That's why they kill people. That's why they do the things that they have to do, is because they're trying to survive. So I agree with what, she's saying there. And I think it definitely is very interesting that she's saying that, and I really like that Tara said that. So basically, Maggie's looking at Eugene, who's still laying unconscious in the roadway, and Maggie goes and gets a ladder and blanket from the fire truck, and she uses them to build a tent around Eugene to shade him from the sun. And Maggie tells Abraham to get over himself, that he's not the only one that lost something today. Maggie says it's never going to get any better than this, because they've all really lost something. If you think about it, they each are trying to figure out, should we go to Washington or not. There's a scene where they're talking about it, and they pretty much think that it's useless to go to Washington now, because the whole point getting to Washington was because they thought Eugene would tell them about the cure, how the virus started, and tell them about the cure. But now that's meaningless because they know that Eugene knows nothing about it. So clearly they don't know what to do, and they're really struggling right now. So I thought this was definitely a very well done scene, and I really liked the way that was executed. So Beth then goes to see Dr. Edwards and asks him what medicine he would give the woman in the room. And Steven says that Dawn called in to let the patient die, but then he realizes Beth has the keys to the medicine cabinet, and he asks Beth if she took the keys or if Dawn gave them to her. And he says if Dawn gave them to her, then she wasn't doing it to be nice. And I myself was wondering why she'd give it to her. He tells Beth what medicine to use and wishes her good luck, and I pretty much thought he was going to trick her again, because if you remember the last time, he tricked her. So Glenn's gathering water from the stream, and by the stream, Rosita recounts the story of how she met Abraham and Eugene. And I thought this was a very well done scene, because he asks how, Rosita and Abraham, how their little relationship started. Abraham helped Rosita fend off some walkers, and he told her that he needed her help saving the world. And I thought we were going to get some flashbacks here, but I was happy with him, because it's a very good example of show, not tell, sort of like, just think about it. I mean, the flashbacks show, not tell, but really we just need to hear the story. We didn't really need to see the flashbacks of this. And Glenn notices some ripples in the water, and he says the ripples are fish, and two police and then this is when the episode just got crazy. This was absolutely nuts what was going on here. I had no idea what was going to happen when this was going on. Two police officers are in a vehicle, they're chasing Noah, and they catch up with him, and the officers tell Noah to put the gun down, and as one of the officers is cuffing Noah, Rick and his group emerge, get the drop on the officers. He tells them to put their guns down and no one will get hurt. One of the officers asks Rick if he used to be a cop because he talks and carries himself like one, and Noah tells Rick that the officer is Lamson, and that he's one of the good ones. He's a good guy. So I agree what they're saying, and Rick did used to be a cop, if you remember. He used to be a cop, so I like that they remind us of that, because I personally forgot about that, and I like that the show does remind us that, Rick used to be a cop. I mean, think about all these people before this apocalypse happened. They had usual everyday jobs. Rick was a cop. That's what he did. So I thought that was interesting that they remind us of that. So suddenly another car pulls up and starts firing at them. Another officer rescues the first two followers. The car speeds away, but Sasha shoots out of the tires. Rick and his group follow the car on foot to where it had stopped. There are a number of melted walkers on the ground around the car, and this was a crazy scene. They spot a couple of the officers running away. Rick and the other chase after them. However, Daryl sticks around and checks the car in a nearby trailer. Suddenly, the bald cop that rescued the other two officers jumps out. The bald cop and Daryl fight. He pins Daryl on the ground, pushing him next to a walker, and he grabs a walker's head by the eye sockets, uses it to club the bald cop. Before the fight can continue, Rick shows up, points the gun at the bald cop. Rick looks like he's about to shoot the cop, but Daryl says there is, 3 is better than 2 to trade, and I thought that was a good line. He says, basically, Rick and his group are telling the 3 cops about their plan to trade them for some of their people at the hospital. Basically, what they're going to do is they're just going to give them the hospital and see what they can do with them. Now, the lady cop in the group says that their plan won't work because Dawn won't make the trade. And she really talks about how much of a threat Dawn is, and I thought this was a very good scene because all the storylines are now intertwining. I'm like, yes, I love it. You guys know I love it when storylines intertwine. So this was just like a great scene for me. I love this scene, definitely. And Officer Lamson tells them that they can make it work, but they have to be able to talk to Dawn. And Lamson says his only interest is in peaceful resolution and not dying. So back at the fire truck, Glenn, Tara, and Rosita are checking the backpacks of the walkers pinned under the telephone pole. And Glenn and Rosita fashion a net out of the backpacks to help catch some fish. And Terry yells out to Glenn and Rosita that they will never believe what's in one of the bags. And I myself was wondering what is in one of those bags. So Michonne goes to see Father Gabriel, and she tells him that she knows all this. And I really like this scene because Michonne's really, sympathetic to Father Gabriel. We've seen it before. We've seen that, she's really been sympathetic to him. We've seen that she really has helped him throughout this. And I really like this scene here because I thought it was definitely very well done in my opinion. So she tells him that she knows all this is new to him, but she wants him to know the things that they do are worth it. And I agree with what she's saying, that really killing people, having to protect, people, having to kill people for protection, saving people, killing walkers. They do all those things because they can survive, and it really is worth it in the end. Even though Father Gabriel still has his morals, he needs to realize that he needs to kill someone. And I really like this episode is building up to that. And what's really building up to is Father Gabriel killing someone. And I definitely really enjoyed that a lot. Thought that was very well done. So, after Michonne leaves, Father Gabriel used the machete he took up to pry up the floorboards of the church. Because, of course, he wanted to open those floorboards. So, I was wondering what's in those floorboards. Because I definitely felt he was hiding something in those floorboards. And I don't really know what it was. But I was kind of thinking maybe it was about that evidence that Rick found out in episode 2 with the, with that girl that he had that connection with that was a walker. Maybe that's what he's hiding and like he doesn't want anyone to know the future of that. I don't know. Something's going on there definitely. So I definitely want to see a Father Gabriel-centric episode maybe in the future. I think that'd be very well done because we know a lot about Father Gabriel, but at the same time, we don't know any of his backstory. So I'd like to know more about what's going on with him. We do know quite a lot about his character, definitely. I mean, we know more about his character than we did with Bob Stookie last year. Like, we know a lot more about him than we did. So I would definitely like to see a Father Gabriel-centric episode in the second half of this season. I think it'd be well done. So back at the hospital, Beth is walking. She hands some strawberries to an elderly man. He starts coughing like he can't breathe, and while everyone's distracted, she sneaks into the drug locker and removes a vial, and she takes the mess into Carol's room and injects it into her IV, and she talks to the unconscious Carol, telling her she just wanted to know that she was there, and I'm kind of wondering, did Beth just kill Carol? Because I'm wondering if maybe she took the wrong drug or something, because this is not going to end up well. If you remember, she gave that one patient the wrong drug, and they died because of it. So I don't know if Carol's going to die. They did hint, though, that they are going to kill off a major character in the mid-season finale, so I could definitely see it being Carol, especially with all the development that Carol's had and everything we got last week, and sort of like that this season has really been a lot about Carol. I could definitely see Carol being the one to, get it at the end. So, Tyrese and Tyler. Who is Tyler? I don't know who Tyler is. I don't know who Tyler is. Sorry, guys. This is not Sons of Anarchy. This is not awkward. I don't know who Tyler is. Tyrese and Sasha are going through the trunk of the car, and Sasha gets mad, throws a tire tool, and Tyrese says that she needs to be able to say goodbye, and I agree what he's saying here. She really does need to be able to say goodbye. She needs to accept the fact that Bob is gone, and he's not coming back, and Sasha said that she should have been able to do it herself. She wanted to stab Bob in the head. But again, she couldn't do it because she just couldn't put herself up to it. She loved Bob that much that she just couldn't kill him. And she knows that. And she wishes that she would have been the one to do it, but she knows that she couldn't. And I really felt bad for her because of that, definitely. But Tyrese says it was okay that she just let him help her, and Sasha gives Tyrese a hug. And I thought that was a very touching scene between them. I definitely really enjoyed that. So back at the church, Father Gabriel goes down the hole he has pried into the floor, and he crawls outside of the church. However, in the process, he steps on a nail, injuring his foot, and he hobbles away into the woods, and that was really crazy, definitely. And I don't know what he was looking for into the floor. I don't know if we're gonna find out, maybe, but that was definitely very crazy. So then we see the cop, Lance, is telling Rick that Dawn will tell him that she won't make a deal, but that she won't compromise. However, he said that she will, and Rick says thanks to Sergeant Lamson, and the officer says his name is Bob, and you can see Sasha, she's starting to tear up right away, and I honestly felt bad for Sasha because of that, because his name is Bob, and she just lost someone named Bob. That's like the worst scenario you can get into. I mean, think about it. If you lost someone whose name was, the person that just, and you met up with someone whose name is the person that just died, you'd obviously be very upset, and I definitely feel Sasha's pain there. I mean, that's definitely very hard. So Rick says he's still a cop, but Bob says the real cops are all gone. And I thought that was definitely very interesting what he's saying there. So Father Gabriel's out in the woods. He hears something. He's attacked by a walker. And for the first time in the entire show, he's about to smash the walker's head in, but he notices a cross around its neck. And he realizes that this is one of, and I'm kind of thinking, I know where this is heading, this is one of those people that wanted to be into his church, one of the people that wanted to, come into his church that he wouldn't let in, and maybe he's regretful of that, and maybe that's why he doesn't want to kill a walker, because he thinks that these people, he doesn't know, these people could still have their morals, so he's not going to kill them. But what he needs to realize that when you're a walker, there's nothing you can do about it. So I definitely agree with what he's saying there, definitely. So, I mean, I agree with him not doing that, but there's nothing you can do about it when they're a walker. They don't have emotion. They're emotionless. They just want to kill you. That's their reaction, is this, they want to kill you. So there's nothing you can really do about that, and I think that Gabriel needs to realize that. So Bob tells Sasha that one of the melted walkers in the parking lot was someone he knew named Tyler, and he relays a story about how Dawn sent Tyler to drive the last group of survivors to safety, but obviously they didn't make it out alive, and he says he's been out there the whole time like he's part of the street, and there's nothing he can do about it. So basically, what he's trying to say is that Dawn is a woman that is going to do very bad things, and I'm kind of wondering if what happened to Tyler is going to happen to Beth or Noah. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen, because apparently, if you remember, basically, Steven had said to Beth that just because Dawn wanted her to do this for her does not mean that Beth likes her. It does not mean that Beth trusts her. It means that she, maybe wants to hurt her or something. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't trust her. I don't know what's going on there, but we'll have to see. So Sasha offers to help take care of the situation, and she asks Bob if he remembers where Tyler was, and Bob says that he could take her right to him, and Sasha says that she's not going out there, but that she's a good shot. And back at the fire truck, Abraham's still kneeling on the ground, and Maggie takes Abraham, she gives him a bottle of water. Sorry, guys, I'm getting a bunch of Skype messages. Let me just turn this off. This is annoying me. Okay. Basically, Maggie asks Abraham if he wanted to shoot him, and Abraham says that he thought he did, but he didn't. And suddenly they hear Eugene starting to stir. Maggie goes to help Eugene. Abraham picks up the bottle of water, and Eugene's okay. So I guess he's okay, but this is not going to end well for Abraham and Eugene. They have a lot of tension going on. Abraham has a very difficult decision to make of what he really wants to do. Does he want to keep him in the group? Does he want to kick him out? And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Abraham's going to do here. So Glenn, Tara, and Rosie are walking back. Tara is playing with a yo-yo, and that's basically how we end that. So I'm wondering definitely what's going to happen there. And then we get to the end of the episode, which I thought was amazing. So basically, Sasha's leading Bob over to a window at the side of the building, and Bob tells Sasha where Tyler is outside. Sasha leans towards the window and takes her shot. He pushes her forward into the window, which knocks her out. He runs off, and Sasha is knocked out with blood dripping from her head. So my question is Sasha dead? Is she dead here? I don't know. But this guy definitely is not to be trusted. These cops, full of shit. They do not know what they're talking about. And it's just like Terminus. They think they're safe, but they're really not. And I really love that. That's what we're getting at here, and I definitely really like that. So this episode was amazing. I loved it, and there's quite a few things to talk about. First of all, do you think that these cops meant to kill Sasha, or was it an accident? I don't know. Is Sasha dead? Is Sasha going to live? What's going to happen to her? Father Gabriel is definitely going to have to kill someone. He needs to realize that walkers are not people. They are people. They have emotions, but they want to kill you, basically. So I'm wondering what's going to happen with Father Gabriel. I think he's going to make it out of this, but I really hope he doesn't die, because I really like his character, and I want to see a Father Gabriel-centric episode, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the character, definitely. Is the same thing that happened to Tyler going to happen to Beth, or was that whole story just, not true at all, so he could lure Sasha to the window? I don't know if that's true at all. Abraham, it's going to be very interesting to see what Abraham decides to do with Eugene. He is a very difficult decision to make, as I said, so I'm very interested in seeing what Abraham's ultimately going to do there. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll have to see what ends up happening there, because that definitely is going to be very crazy, whatever he decides to do. Definitely he has a very difficult decision to make, and I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. And the finale looks absolutely amazing. I can't wait for the finale. It's going to be just epic. I can't wait for it. Because we see Rick, and he's like, I am Rick Grimes. I have come for Beth and Carol. And that just sounds epic right there. Apparently, it's going to be like the most intense episode they've ever done. Now, think about the mid-season finale of last year. Will it be bigger than that? I don't know. But it sounds absolutely crazy, and I can't wait for it. And I'm already so hyped up for the mid-season finale. And I already can tell it's going to be amazing. And let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, I thought this was the best episode of the season. It built up perfectly to the finale. I loved everything that was going on in it. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Homeland. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.